Everyone's under pressure, huh? The other guy at the back said. He had a little goatee and big aviator sunglasses with mirrored lenses. His hair was the color of honey, jet black with plenty of gel, darkening into curls at the back. Cool, at least in his own eyes. Pleasant smile. Giora, I know now. Giora Huerta from Jerusalem. I know plenty of things now. This paranoia, I said. People are completely crazy. He looks okay to you, right? I looked once more towards the dark guy. I wasn't sure. Who could be sure? Yeah, no problem with him, I said. Each of us looked through his window. Winter, but the sun was out. I watched the tree-lined Düsseldorf slide by, the parade of designer clothing shops, an ad for the movie Monsters, Inc. A small Gad dairy truck passed me. A builder got on and started shouting at Ziona. Why didn't the last two stop for me? The builder was the father of two girls. I read it later on Why Not. Don't get mad, honey, Ziona said. They were probably full. Come on, people, my time is precious, the builder said. Everybody's time is precious, honey. If there's one thing I like about the little number 5, it's the efficiency with time. I know something about this. I work in the business of time. For example, all the handling of money and change is done during the ride, not like the bus, where everyone's got to finish paying while it's still standing at the stop. You give someone sitting in front of you some money, and they pass it down, from passenger to passenger to the driver, and your change comes back up from hand to hand, back into your palm. Money circulated efficiently from stranger to stranger, like the bus is glad. Or the way the drivers change money with other drivers. They arrange it over the radio, and when they pass each other, they'll stop for a couple of seconds, and 1, 2, it's done. Or the skill on the road, the way they improvise, overtaking cars and jumbos by driving on the other side of the road, stealing valuable seconds at traffic lights, avoiding traffic jams by cutting through narrow streets off their usual routes. Decisive action. It's a pleasure to watch them. Somebody touched my shoulder. I looked up in alarm and saw it was only Giora Huerta. Listen, he said. If something happens to me, I want you to tell my girlfriend in Jerusalem, Shuli. I want you to tell her. He was thinking, but he couldn't seem to find the right words. I chuckled. What was he talking about? If something happens to him? Him too? The old lady, okay. She's probably been paranoid since the Holocaust, but him? If something happens, I said, I'm hardly going to be the one left to pass on messages, am I? Don't worry, man, nothing's going to happen. I know nothing's going to happen, he said, but if it does, if you want, I can also send a message to someone. Like if I, no, I said reflexively. Then I thought, maybe I should send a message to someone. Maybe I should get my will written. You never know. I thought that if there's anyone I would leave anything to, it would have to be Gucci, despite everything. And then I thought again, damn, what the hell am I doing on the bus on the way to work, worrying about my will? How did I get here? On the back of the bus in front, there was a picture of one of those red-jacketed guardsmen in London. It said, going abroad, take a mobile. On the radio, Amanda was driving behind a bus that was blown up in Wadi Ara, told Rafi Reshet, I'm optimistic. We were getting to the busier part of Düsseldorf Street, where the towers of the center loom and the city flash goes denser. A phone rang and someone answered. I got my little notebook out and wrote, check again how much to rent a house in New Zealand. Talk with Ducci about it. You from Jerusalem, I said to the guy. Me too, originally. But I saw he was thinking about other things. His expression was serious. Later I'd think about how people sometimes have premonitions. How we found all kinds of clues and hints that Danny Lamb left before he was killed. Like the poem he wrote the month before. And how soldiers who die are always supposed to say goodbye in a special way in their last phone call. How people always said things in the final days. How they'd have feelings that something was going to happen. On the other hand, everybody says these things all the time. You just pay attention to those who actually die. I myself had a sign that I was about to die. One time I saw these birds flying in the dark. I thought, birds flying in the dark, weird. It must be a sign. And yet I'm still alive, even now. Even after the little number 5, after Sha'ar Hagai, after Emek Rephaim, after farming. Stop being a fool, I said to Georg Goethe. Don't think about it. He smiled. I got up, waved goodbye to him, and got off the little number 5 without a word. On my way out, I didn't look at the dark guy, the suicide bomber. Again. I think I didn't look at him because I didn't believe he was a terrorist. But maybe I didn't look at him because I didn't want to embarrass him.